Well, welcome to the podcast for season 38, the final podcast of the season. John, we were excited and we were ready to crown Jack Bennett the winner of the series, but it rained. We've still got him here and he is the winner of the series, but it rained, didn't it, John?
Yeah, and how disappointing, because I think on Tuesday morning the sun was out, there was a bit of blue sky, and we were all looking forward to the showdown for the overall points, the B grade points and the C grade points. In the afternoon, a big cloud band and rain band came through, and then all of a sudden it was all over. No racing.
And as you can all see, we've invited Jack Bennett, the series winner, and we'll now do a bit of a round of applause for Jack.
Welcome, Jack.
Congratulations on your third series win. Is that correct, Jack?
Fourth. Should be five. 4 out of 6 I've started. So
four series. So that's certainly, and each one of them are as important as the last one, I'm sure.
Yeah, all slightly different. 4 in a row for the ZCC, one for Laurie last year, which was a bit of a funny year with rain and COVID. So we didn't race much, but that's fine. And then the previous year with the Crit Dogs, when we started that. And the year before that, I'd only been riding the bike for like a month before the series started, or before Tuesday Night Racing started again. So I'd had 7 years off before that. So, yeah.
Well, that's a pretty good segue, and I'll ask the first question. And look, Jack, give us a bit of a synopsis of your life involving cycling, but also what jobs you've done and what you do for a crust, etc. Could you wrap it up in, say,
He's
minute
pro
and a half?
cycling. Everyone knows that.
A lot of people think that I don't work, which...
Hang on. I'm all ears.
I mean, I can understand why it looks like that from the outset, but I do work. And when I do work, I end up working quite a bit. And in the latter half of this season, I actually had to spend a bit of time away working, and I thought it was going to unravel me a little bit because I had a lot of good fitness from December training the house done with like Benello and Caleb. But yeah, I had a week in Fiji 2 weeks ago on a shoot. I'm a photographer. I was in Melbourne, Adelaide, Ballarat, Gold Coast, back to Melbourne all this year already. So I've done about 7 trips away. So I do travel a lot for work. Sometimes I can take a bike, sometimes I can't. But yeah, sometimes it's very beneficial for my cycling, the job that I have. Other times it's not. Normally I'd say it's more beneficial. So if we want to go into the backstory of Jack Bennett as a cyclist and my life, I grew up racing bikes. Heffron was one of the first places I ever raced. I raced there when I was 8. Raced super competitively from 8 to 18. Raced with guys like Scott Law and his brother almost every week, multiple times a week on the velodrome. I've known Crafty since I was very, very young. I've known John since I was very young. And yeah, did that till I was about 18. Thought I was going to be a professional cyclist. Figured out it's a little bit harder than just saying it. So yeah, at 18, I won 2 Oceania titles at Oceanias, one on the track, one on the road. Thought that would be enough to go to Junior Worlds. Wasn't enough. Didn't make the AIS. And then turned 18, figured out about girls. And yeah, that all happened. So stopped cycling. Had a few random jobs, bike shops, car sales, IT sales with Andrew Herman and a few cyclists. And then picked up the camera, and then that's gone really well since then. And then I came back from the States in 2017 and thought I probably should start exercising again because I was a bit of a party boy, fat slob, and I was probably like 90 something kilos at the time. And
I'd do anything to be 90 kilos.
Yeah, well, at my height, 90 kilos doesn't look very good. So yeah, I started in the gym, started running, and then Dad said to me, he's like, look, all this time you're spending doing all this other shit, you could probably just ride a bike quite well. So I bought a bike, and then, yeah, went down a Saturday race on a Heffron on a afternoon B grade, won B grade, went back, rode A grade, finished in A grade. This would have been in September, and then October came around. Frank Consacao made me ride B grade, and I said I wanted to ride A grade the first Tuesday night. And I think I got second in B grade, and we won that night. Rowley might have won, or Bob Barrett might have won. And then I was in A grade 2 weeks later, and I've never DNF'd an A grade Tuesday night. That's a fact, unless it's a mechanical.
Mechanical.
apart from mechanical, I've never DNF'd a Tuesday night. And
Yeah, well
then
done. That's a record.
other than that year, I don't think I would have finished outside of the top 5 in any Tuesday night race for the last 4 years. So yeah, I definitely don't think I'm the quickest nor the strongest, definitely not the fastest, but I know how to be very consistent. So yeah.
If I might just jump in there, when you talk about the comeback, was it always there though? Like your physique, like because I always look at it and kind of go, because you were so elite when you were younger, is it always there with you now? Like even when you were 90 kilos, do you think you just need a couple of weeks and then your body just goes?
It wasn't a couple of weeks. Like it was like I had friends that like got into cycling later in life, like you do, like, you know, mates that were photographers, and they said, oh, you know, you always said you were a cyclist when you were younger. You said you were a national champion, Oceania champion, all these things. Like come out for a ride with us. And like I remember getting some kit off John and just thinking like, fuck, I can't even get kit that fits me, and just like it was proper grim and not enjoyable at all. It actually turned me off cycling a lot because I couldn't enjoy it because I was so unfit, unhealthy. And I actually think that because I went in the gym and I started running and doing all these other things, I lost all the weight. I got down to like 71 kilos. So I lost like 20 kilos, but I hadn't touched the bike at that point. And I reckon if I went bike first, it would have been way harder. So I'm glad I did it the other way, went in the gym, started running and doing those sort of things, and then got on the bike. And then I was quite fit already. Like I ran a 54-minute city to surf that year. So like pretty fast. So
just one more. I don't want to overtake the conversation, but
where
are you now? Where are you now on level compared to where you were when you were younger? Like, do you think you're sprinting just as quickly or close to, or
probably faster? The only thing I reckon I couldn't do as good is probably pursuit or time trial because you just have no need for it. But I mean, I will say this, and I say it to a lot of people because a lot of people always ask me about my training and everything like that. I don't do any efforts. I don't do any prescribed training. I've never had a coach since Gary Sutton was my coach in 2010 or something. So, and I really like, unless you go trying to do something super specific, I don't think you need one at all. Like I get all my fitness from bunch rides, chopping off with my mates. When I want to get better at crits, I go race 3 crits a week. When I want to go better at going up hills, I go find hills. Like there's nothing can ever replace just doing quantity of what you need to do. And I think people get so wrapped up in power numbers and effort, but like if my power meter is not working on Tuesday night racing, it doesn't even phase me. I could not care. And people come at me and say, well, why don't you race other races? And I can ride to Heffron, ride home, sleep in my own bed. I don't need to go to races in the country. I did all those things as a kid. I raced national titles as a kid. I raced in New Zealand as a kid. I don't need to do that now. Cycling is like about fun and convenience, and like putting my bike in the car is like my worst nightmare.
So pretty clearly, Tuesday is fun and convenient for you, and
yes.
and also there's a lot of bells and whistles at Tuesday night. It is one. It has
a podcast.
Yeah, it has. But
it's got a DJ okay. Dev. Shout out DJ Dev.
Hey, big shout out to DJ Dev, by the way.
He's done a great job this season. Love to see it. It's fun.
So, Jack, you have been to state titles. You've been to other opens, and Tuesday night carries almost more kudos than any of those.
Yeah, like I would say the biggest race in the last 4 or 5 years that I've been racing was actually when the state crit titles were at Heffron. And then they tried to do them in other places, and it was like there was a quarter of the field that you get on the Tuesday night in A grade. Like I think New South Wales cycling can learn a lot from what happens on a Tuesday night. Like a lot of club racing around New South Wales, and I know I've spoken to people in South Australia and Melbourne, and club racing as a whole is dying apparently, but I haven't seen it at all on Tuesday night. Tuesday nights are as fun and as busy as ever, which is awesome. And it's something that, like people get excited for. Like I refuse to, in my industry, it's pretty bad to refuse work. And I normally do refuse any work on a Tuesday. I always, like the trip to Fiji, they were asking me, can we go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? And I said, I can't do any Tuesday.
That's so cool. That is really cool.
I think I missed one race the whole season, which was a Tuesday. And I was doing a shoot for Range Rover, the launch of one of their new cars. And I mean, it was very good money. So I'd be stupid to say no to it, but most of the time, if I can do it on another day or I can push the client to do it another time, I normally do, but this had to be the Tuesday. So that was the one race I missed in this 22-23 season. So,
John.
was going to add to that, Jack, another thing that I think makes Heffron so appealing is the heritage involved in it.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I remember before I was even allowed to race, I remember watching Dave Early win the Sunday Memorial or the trophy race. There must have been the Sunday Memorial.
He won the Joseph race, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember being there as a, 12, 13-year-old on Australia Day, truck parked on the side, and like those sort of things, watching Troy Glennon there, who I still deal with today through Quare, and watching the Fitzpatrick brothers, watching Millsy, watching Nash, watching these guys, Brownie, Whitey, CJ. And then when I was first, going into under 19s racing there a little bit, but just thinking it was the fastest race in the world, especially on junior gears.
Well, it is.
Yeah. Well, when you're riding 52.14, it was definitely the hardest thing I used to do. And I remember I used to go with Crudo and CJ, and we used to do a lap of the national park and then come and race on a Tuesday night. And it was just training for us. But now it's not just training. It's the opposite of what I do on a Tuesday now. On Tuesday mornings now, I go for a coffee ride and spin the legs out and get ready. So
that's right.
Look, you're ZCC teammates, and you are always quick to acknowledge them at the finishing line. But we already know Michael Cupid, and he has won. He can win. Bonello, pretty much everybody on the ZCC.
Just take us through your team, Jack.
Yeah.
Well, Big Jeff, the tank man, ex-army, very strong. He's a beast. He always impresses me. Phil Lucas is definitely capable of winning on his own. He's just got to figure out how to do it one day.
If you didn't nail him on the line, he would.
Hey, I still to this day, Gandy also beat him that day. So if I didn't roll them both, Gandy would have won. We would have looked like idiots. So
it's a good story, though.
It is a good story. I get it. But yeah, Phil Lucas is definitely capable of winning on his own. I just don't. He's just not like guys like me, Tommy Bolton, and Kurt. We've been riding since we were, kids, and the tactics and the actual racing part of it is more important than the fitness. And I think that's how we always end up at the front. Whereas these guys that are incredibly fit and strong and have crazy power data, and they will that not growing up racing on a velodrome and that sort of thing, that's what they lack. But Phil Lucas is super strong. He should be able to win on his own, and he will one day. It's just luck. Bonello's done it, and we've seen what he's done the least last season. He had a great ride at Nationals and at Worlds. And then Mick, Mick could win the series for sure. Easily. He's
the ultimate team player.
He probably does, honestly, half of the work of A grade on the front, every single race. No one is more reliable. But even a couple of weeks ago when we weren't going to get up, I went up to him and said, Miko, we're not going to catch. Because I know, 7 to go, B grade weren't even coming out of the squircle. I was like, Miko, we're not going to catch. And I was saying it try to win A grade. Yeah, back off and try to win A grade for yourself, because he can easily take a flyer and do that. And instead he just went to the front, would sit on the front for half a lap at a time, 500 watts. And you're just like, what is this guy on? He's such a beast. And he honestly, out of all the guys in A grade, he probably trains the least. But when he trains, he just goes out and fucking smashes it. He just goes out and rides for an hour as hard as he can, or 2 hours as hard as he can. He doesn't dilly-dally around. He doesn't ride around in Centennial Park like we do for hours and just
sit at the cafe.
No, it's just full training. So yeah, I think Mick Cupid definitely could win on his own easily. And he's proven that, but I think he could win the whole series. But yeah.
Willie Heff?
That's it. Oh, Willie Heff. He left the team as of January 1, and we kicked him out of every group chat. We got rid of him pretty quickly, but I still feel like he's always in the team. And Willie isn't a rider that I see a lot of people claim a rider that rode for their team for a little bit and they developed them, or, riders go on to bigger and better things and they say that they were part of that. I picked up Willie. Me and Bonello found Willie on a Saturday afternoon at Heffron, and he was the shittest of shit under 15s. Couldn't finish a race in his age category. Couldn't finish Div 5 on a Saturday. Barely could pedal his bike. And I said to him, this is the training you need to do. Tuesday race, Thursday chop, Saturday Kalutzi, Sunday Kalutzi. All the other rides you just fill in between. Just make sure you're riding.
And stop eating lollies.
He came to a Saturday Kalutzi. He didn't speak to anyone. He rode next to me, and we rode in silence the whole out to Stanwell. He got dropped descending from Stanwell to Waterfall, and we had to wait for him, and he got lost. And now I honestly think he'd be the strongest guy in the whole bunch. And And he's actually stronger. Like, he climbs the best out of anyone, but I watched him drop Bonello in the National Park when Bonello was getting ready for nationals, when Willie was also getting ready for nationals. And yeah, he's very talented. And I claim that 100% that I think
you have every right to do.
Because it wasn't like he was on an upwards trajectory. He was
out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's good
So
squad.
Jack, when you're racing, because obviously, I don't see what's happening on in A grade. Are you rolling turns during the race, or do your guys kind of do that and you just have to respond if there's a break? How does it work?
I always, like, especially the first half of the year, I felt like I was one of the strongest guys, and I was definitely rolling turns. Not only do I roll, like, I probably roll some of the more aggressive, because I have a big belief. There's a few things you got to do in a Heffron A grade. You have to go through the Squircle fucking fast, because that's how we pick up time on the other grades. We should be quicker at cornering. So I like to sit on the front for the whole Squircle. And then I also am a strong believer you have to come onto the straight at full speed. Because if you come on the straight at full speed, you maintain your speed. But if you go onto the straight slow and build your speed,
you're not going to make as much time.
So I'm a big fan of literally coming onto the straight and ripping the hardest turn possible and getting us up to full speed as quick as possible. And then someone like Mick Cupid can just sit on 56 k's an hour for the whole straight. He won't swing up. He has no reason to. So that's a big thing. Like, I the last few weeks, because I have had a lot of time off the bike, I've been a little bit shying away from turns, and I've also just been following Tommy a lot, trying to mark him out a little bit. If he's not rolling, or if Kurt's not rolling, then I'm like, well, I'm not going to roll either. Especially when I've got 3 or 4 guys that are rolling, more turns than everyone else. So
give us a bit of an insight into your competitiveness with Tommy Bolton.
I think I would say Tommy's a better bike rider than I am, but he's just in that stage, which I've been in as well, where he's taken cycling very seriously for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And, I did that till I was 18. And then he's moved out of home for the first time other than at uni, and he's partying and he's meeting girls, and cycling isn't as important. And he's working as well. And I said this to Crafty last year on the line. I said, when Tommy gets a job, it's going to make my life a whole lot easier.
Yeah,
it is hard.
Yeah. I thought that too. But I just want to give a bit of credit to Tommy. So he's been working full time on the KFC account in an ad agency.
Yeah.
Because we got to watch the last lap, and I just find them like incredible. And coming back to your racing experience and your knowledge, like, I look at how far back you guys can often be, say, entering the final lap. You could be 10, 15 wheels from the front. And anyone in B or C grade looks at that and goes, I'm too far back now, race over. How do you guys judge and know it's okay, I don't have to panic yet because I'm going to move up at this stage? Or are you thinking that through the entire race, or is that just how it plans out?
It's so dependent on the night and what's happening. Like, if we're going to catch B and C grade in the final lap, like we have done so many times, which is terrifying, you want to be in the first 3 or 4 wheels, because who knows who's getting past. But it's so dependent on the wind too. Like, if there's a headwind on the back straight, you can move up 10 places in 2 pedal strokes because it will slow down so much. There was a week where me and Tommy were really out of place. I can't remember when it was, but Mick Cupid got on the front. It might have been a week that I won. It was the week that I won, and it just started to rain, and I had to go past like 12 guys coming around the final bend onto the straight because I was just watching Tommy, and Tommy was sitting too far back. We got this ripping tailwind down the back straight and a headwind on the straight. So it's like you can easily get past a lot of guys on the straight, but it's hard to move up if Mick Cupid's doing 500 watts in a tailwind on the back straight. So Mick's ripped this huge turn. I was out of place. Tommy was out of place. I was just thinking to myself, he's going to move up soon. He's going to move up soon. And he didn't. And so I did this big move around the outside, luckily found Ollie Penny, who hit out early in the headwind. And I think I won that one, probably the easiest one I won the whole year. But
I think you came off Ollie that night, didn't you?
Yeah. And like those sort of nights, it's super unpredictable. Like, I would have gone into the Squircle 15th, 16th wheel. It was all because a group of riders bombed the corner and 10 of them moved up at once. I was actually in a really good spot, but a washing machine, I was out of place. But a good rider finds their way back to the front. And normally me and Tommy are the sort of guys that, and I mean, if you look at Kurt, Kurt can find his way to the front from 10th.
I think Kurt's most probably the master at that at Heffron, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, I also just think he's a lot quicker. Like, I actually don't think I never have thought I was that fast of a sprinter. Like, I was riding today with Andrew Herman in the park, and I said, if someone like Luke Davison or Richie Lang made a comeback and they have that pure fast twitch speed and got a bit of fitness, I'd be terrified because those guys are genuinely fast. And I think Kurt has that.
Yeah.
Talking to being in 10th place, what Alexis said, look, in B grade, if you're 10th coming into the straight, yeah, you're in trouble. But in A grade, you've got to understand 3 of the riders are leading out Jack. 2 of the riders are leading out Tom. So that's 7 riders that you automatically know aren't there for the finish. Aren't there? So you've only, when you're 10 back.
Sometimes my teammates have a little bit of some of them like to go for a bit of sprint glory themselves. And there's been some discussions and arguments and confusion there. Because the thing is, Bonello can easily sprint to a podium too. And Phil could get probably close. And sometimes they know that I'm a bit of a free agent and I can do my own thing too. So, yeah, sometimes that is the case, and then other times it's not. But yeah, a lot of time Millsy's doing a good lead out for Tommy, or Marcus is doing a really good lead out for Tommy. And then you throw in the Case boys as well. So then you might have Edwin doing something for Kurt, or Edwin normally does a really hard last lap for Kurt. So yeah, there's a lot of people doing different things. But then you still have guys like Cam and Lockie who can't sprint that good, but also can throw their hat in just because Heffron's a weird sprint. Like, it's not a pure sprinter sprint. It's so long and fast that someone like Cam Fraser, who I would say traditionally doesn't have much of a sprint, can roll in for a 3rd or 4th or 5th. So
and he's proved it too.
He's done it a few times.
Jack, I just wanted to point out you posted your satisfaction with winning the series and got a bit of a congratulatory comment from your pro teammate in Europe, Tim Wellings. How many Heffron riders have been congratulated from the pro peloton recently?
I actually got a few. I had on my DMs, I had Florian Vermeesh, I had Tim, I had I think Jared Business and a few other guys. So yeah, I mean, I've been around for a long time, and obviously the last couple of years, thanks to Caleb, I've got to go to Tour de France to take some photos. And I mean, a lot of the photographers that hang out at these bike races are old, crusty Belgian dudes that just, they're photographers.
Cool boss.
But whereas I still ride and I still get to, hang out with these guys. So Luke Rowe commented on the photo as well.
I thought it was a really nice dimension.
Yeah. And, I sometimes sit at the cafe with you, John, and I leave a message for Tim and say, good ride last night at, get 12 again or whatever it is. And
he responds usually straight away. It's pretty cool.
Probably very fast, yeah. So.
And you know what the other thing about that whole dialogue is? Just goes to show how important Tuesday night Heffron is in Europe. That's what they're all talking about.
I don't know about that. I know that Caleb was very, very, very upset. The first thing that he told me after he won the Tour Down Under Classic, the opening crit, which he won quite convincingly. He won by a few bike lengths. He said to me, I said, "Oh, good work winning tonight." And he said, "Jack, how do I win that, but I can't fucking win at Heffron?"
True story.
And it's true.
Hey, Caleb, if you're watching this, which I hope you are.
I don't think I doubt it. But I think it's not an easy race to win. Like, guys have come that are super talented have won it their first time. Like, I remember Blake Quick, he won the first time he raced there. But then another time he came and raced there, and I didn't even think he podiumed a night that I won. So anything can happen there. And it is like, when the Bridge Lane guys and Jensen came that time, Jensen did win it on his first try, but he only beat me by, half a wheel. He's a World Tour rider now, same as Blake Quick. So
I must say, Jack, this has been so fascinating. I've really enjoyed listening to you.
It's been good, Jack.
Yeah, it has been. It has been very good. Jack, I want you to have a look at the point score there. Jack Bennett, 17, Tom Bolton, 13. Congratulations, Jack Bennett. But if we that's the 21st of March. We go back to the 21st of February. That was the exact same points. They never changed. That was the last time you won and you got to 17. A week later, a week later, the week that Marcus Curley won.
Big controversy.
It wasn't controversy. No one wanted you to have a mechanical.
Oh no, not big but in my brain it's controversial because I mean the problem and it's a problem, but it's worked for me and it works against me. But the point scoring system is tough sometimes. It's really hard to get a big lead. It's also hard to lose the lead, but also if Tommy won that night, I would have been completely cooked. But
how were you feeling? Were you on the sidelines? You were pretty helpless, eh?
Yeah, and I spoke to the boys afterwards, and they didn't even know that I was out of the race. They thought I was just sitting down the back, which I was waving to them. But yeah, so I was thinking
that was the old radio ad. Oh yeah, didn't realize you weren't racing. Yeah, sorry about that. Teammates with a knife in the back.
We all know the story. Tom ends up on the ground in the squircle.
Which is not what I wanted at all.
And you said that at the finish, that was it. Like, oh shit, that's not what I wanted. But it could have been, in hindsight, if he was upright and that was it. He won the series.
Well, who knows? Because Marcus was away too, so they weren't chasing. Like it was a bit of a weird night.
That's true. That's true. He was already away, wasn't he?
If he left Marcus away and he won that bunch sprint, he gets 4 points and we're even on points. Goes to a count back. I won 2 wins. I'd already thought about all of this on the side.
He actually gets 5 points if he got second.
Oh yeah, he'd be a point in front.
Dear, oh dear.
Yeah,
okay, let's go very quickly. I'm going to do another share, but this time not on the points. Congratulations to everybody else. And I'm madly getting here because we're going to run out of time, and that's where we're going to end it. John, this is your overall points. And when I look at that top 10, they are the who of season 38. And when I look at the top B grader, Hugh Harvey, over the season, we're now talking the 2022/2023. Hugh Harvey, amazing. Lucas Stevens, second. Hudson Rowling, so consistent. Kira Wheel. It's very poignant, John.
Yeah, what a great ride from Kira to get to, she features in the C grade points and wins the woman by a double margin.
Yeah. Kira's super impressive. I also think the young guys in C grade, like Lucas Stevenson, I don't know if anyone's been keeping up to date with what that kid's up to, but he just won the GC and every single stage in a junior tour down in Victoria convincingly. Like, he's a super talent. He's still under 17s. He's racing A-grade club racing elsewhere. He won at West Head the other day against Mick Cupid.
Yeah, I saw that.
So his win in the Anthony Spurgeon is the ride of the season.
I honestly, I said to Miko the other day, I said he could be a problem when it comes to me trying to win series 5, 6, and 7 to catch Spurge. So,
okay, show us your trophies. Show us your trophies.
We got 1.
Yeah.
2. It's got a crack in it. And 3. John, you can deliver the 4th whenever you get a chance, please.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you're already thinking, how do I catch the Spurge? That just says you're a competitor. No question.
Well, there's a lot of talk of the king. I used to always say that Luke Davidson was the Prince of Heffron, but he's definitely not one as much as I have now. So
he's got to tell us about how he's already planning to take on the Spurge. It just cut out at that particular moment.
There's a lot of King of Heffron talk, and unfortunately for me, Spurge has won a lot of trophy races and memorial races and things like that. So it's going to be hard to get the king. But if I can equal his 7, I counted the other day, there's 7 series wins. I'm only 30, so, I mean, if you look at Millsy, I should be all right. I spoke to the king, but there's been a lot of Prince talk for, a few different people over the times. I think Robbie Cater was the Prince.
I was just about to say Robbie Cater. He was the first one. Robbie Cater was the first one that was given the Prince tap on the shoulder.
Yeah, and I think Robbie Cater is probably a lot more accomplished cyclist outside of Heffron Park than I was, but as for Heffron Park and Heffron Park alone, I feel like I can give myself the Prince now. So,
heavy burden wearing the crown.
It's a heavy, but the king wears it well.
He certainly does.
He wears it very well. And yeah, I mean, Spurge is Spurge. I remember watching him win when I was a kid, and he's always going to be the king. And I hope there's someone, that's there racing now or is about to start racing. If it's Lucas Stevenson or one of these guys that is the one that comes and kicks me off the Prince title in a few years' time. Because, I love junior racing. That's how I started cycling. That's how I met some of my best friends today. So, yeah, it's cool to watch. And, I see Ben Coates and Lucas and Zach Francis and all these guys, and they hang out and they ride bikes and they're having the best time of their life. And I remember it being the best time of my life as a junior cyclist. So I think that stuff's really, really cool. And it's awesome to see. So I hope they're beating me in a few years. So I hope they're still doing it. That's the biggest thing. I think that's
the big thing.
That's the big thing.
I can remember, and even my wife can remember when Jack was a road runner and the Laws turning up at Friday night Raw and just going, how good are those guys? They're just the 4 of them or 5 of them would just be whipping around, just destroying everyone.
That's why Alex, I say, it's good to see Ben and all these young kids ride together, because when you have, one good junior can make 10 good juniors. Because if the level gets really high amongst juniors, and we had that with Scott and Jackson, Law and Alex Carver, Aaron, all these guys that went on to ride, very close to the Olympics or road world championships. Alex Carver won 2 world championships. And it just breeds talent, because the guys that you're racing with, to win a club race, you've got to beat someone who the following week will go out and break an Australian record or will go and win a world title. So if it's that competitive every single week from the time you're 12 or 13, you're going to get very, very good. And when you're like me and you're not, those guys were 6 foot when they were 15-year-olds and I was the same size I am now. So you've got to figure out ways to do it. And it's not with pure speed or power. It's just with being sneaky, being cunning, coming off the wheel at the right time, running at the wheel, boxing someone in, putting your handlebars into someone's hip. So,
once again, we're back onto the point score, and you can see the overall winners. Jack, was any of these outstanding in your opinion?
I mean, Henry's super impressive. I actually know Henry separate from cycling. I met him just before I got back into bike riding through some mates on the Northern Beaches. And he came one day a few years ago to pick up Bonello's gravel bike. And I said, I know you. He said, yeah, I just got into a bit of cycling, I used to do it when I was younger, a bit like yourself. And I thought, didn't think anything of it. Then I saw him pop up. I think he probably raced his first Tuesday last year, not this season.
Yes, he did, yeah.
But he just had a bit of go-go in him, which, you like to see. And I think he likes racing. He doesn't want to just be one of those guys that rides a bike and trains and gets fit. He likes racing. And, yeah, him winning, A-grade obviously didn't get up, but him winning that week was really impressive. I mean, looking at the point series, one thing that stands out to me is I know we didn't get to race much, but there's a lot of 7s because a few different grades have won, which, A-grade has been pretty dominant the last few years. But it's also very, very low scoring from me and Tommy. That's only 3 weeks worth of points there. So
compared to previous years, it is a lot lower. Yeah. And there is a lot more winners. It was a season of surprises throughout the whole season. There was so many big surprises. Now, going back to last week, Henry Bard, how he won, it was like he was up against an unstoppable force against Rollo.
Yeah, I would say it was Luke Cridland-esque. Cruddo is a very, very quick bike rider, but he knows he's not as fast as Tommy or me or Kurt or even Ollie. So the old hit him between the pimples and hold on, a bit of a tail crossing on the straights.
That's the Cruddo master move.
It's a Cruddo master move, and I don't know if Henry knew that, but it's a very good tactic. And I love to see it. I remember Willie Heff done it last season out of B grade when A grade caught, and he almost won. And Phil Lucas has done it. And I think to me, it's way, way cooler than sitting in and trying to sprint for 6th or 7th when that's all you're capable of in the bunch sprint. Unfortunately, with the racing how it is, not many people get a chance to win. If you looked at every week, it's
me. I know.
Marcus got lucky. He won one, and it was a super impressive win. But then it's me, Tommy, or Kurt every week.
That's right.
And then if you look at B grade, there's only Rolly's going to win.
There's only a handful of names there.
Yeah.
So, you've got to roll the
Henry Baird on the B grade winner of the 2023 Sydney Skoda Point Score Series.
And a very close second, Rolly. Rolly's always super consistent. Probably should be an A grader. I reckon he doesn't on purpose. He doesn't quite get the fitness, but he's one of those guys that just has natural speed. So he's always going to be there. I mean, Millsy's up there in the points again, which is like
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Probably the biggest disappointment about the rain on Tuesday was that Rollo versus Henry.
I
B
would
grade.
like to have seen it happen
It was poised.
Because Henry's had a good sprint when A grade of court. I think he came fourth.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, just to mention, if you look at the series overall points, Henry was third.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's from that night, and then plus his win. So
Hudson Rowling winning C grade, pure consistency. He was really consistent at the end of 22 and consistent again up there, and a deserved winner and wearer of the jersey. John?
And best of all, another junior who is also riding track. I think he's the state pursuit champion for his age group.
We love to see these young guys all coming through together. And, I think next year they'll probably all be riding B grade, to be honest. And I actually think even Oscar will probably get up to A grade by the end of the 23-24 season. He's doing some pretty scary numbers. And, I love watching the juniors. I reckon that's one of the coolest things. And I'm pretty sure when I was younger, you couldn't race Tuesday night racing as an under 17.
No, because there was someone running racing back then that wouldn't let you.
Yeah, the Portuguese mafia.
I feel we've spoken well and truly about Kira Will, and she's been dominant, and now she's a national champion again. She probably lost count how many national titles she has.
Actually, I just wanted to add, I got a nice message from Kira the other day on Tuesday, just thanking everybody for a great season and saying how much she enjoyed it, how much fun she had, and how much she's looking forward to coming back next year. So that was very nice.
That'll be awesome. And hopefully Hayley Fuller will turn up for a few more weeks, because she was super impressive the weeks that she raced there. She was mixing it up there, holding it in there. There was one race where she was like back. I think it was 3 laps to go, because I was sitting there and we're at the back, and all of a sudden she just moved up with this slight hesitation in the bunch. Bang, she's right there. I went out the back. She finished off, went all the way, won her grade. Awesome. And probably Brie Playell as well. I mean, she never got that win she's been desperately seeking, but she probably needs a 6K climb in the middle of the race. Yeah. She's a GC rider racing the classics.
I think the important thing is that the girls keep showing up, which is
exactly.
Awesome. It's good to see Nicole's always there.
And a shout out to all the girls, because it is, the environment down in Heffron on Tuesday night is intimidating, but the ones that turn up week after week and put in, they get a lot of satisfaction and enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that across all the grades, across all the ages too. Like, I love seeing guys like, Greg Rule still racing every week, and Gino and people like that. It's awesome to see. It's like such a, people ask me about like my cycling in my personal, my photography world, and they're like, "Who do you do it with?" And I say, I do it with like, I ride every day with a kid who's just turned 18 and just finished school. But then I also ride almost every day with a guy who's 66, 67 this year. And
I wish I was 66 or 67.
Well, how old are you now?
I can older than that, unfortunately.
Well, you're not 70 yet. I know that.
So, Jack, what scares you coming into next season? Who are you kind of going, that is the rider that's going to keep me awake?
What scares me the most is if I go back to the Tour de France to take photos, which I'm not 100% on yet, and I have another 5 weeks off the bike like I did last year, which was fun to build the fitness back up. But I think I've done it with COVID every year. We've had a bit of time off the bike, and it definitely feels like, even though I'm only 30, it takes longer to get the fitness going, and it's not as enjoyable like when you're the slowest and fattest in the bunch. So I'm going to have a bit of a different approach. I've been back in the gym today and yesterday already, 2 days of the off season. 2 days. So I'm going to try something different. What I did probably the first time I got on the bike. What would scare me the most? I mean, Kurt Ether, I know, is a better bike rider than me. He's a semi-professional cyclist, I would say. But with racing commitments, he's never really going to be there. I mean, I don't know what Tommy will do. Who knows? But I always think the biggest thing is young guys that come along. Like, who knows what Hugh Harvey will do? Who knows what Oscar will be, like what level he'll be at. But I relish it, and I'm never the sort of person that goes, "Oh, Kurt's coming," that's shit. I would prefer him to be there. I want to race the fastest guys.
Absolutely.
I loved when the whole Bridge Lane team turned up. I loved when Blake Quick or these guys would turn up. All the St. George boys, like it always makes racing better. The more competitive and harder it is. And I think a good bike rider always raises to the level, you know. If you keep placing and coming second and third when it's those guys that are beating you, that shows more about you as a bike rider.
I just want to thank the Eastern Suburbs Cycling Club, and especially Colin Ironmonger, who's down at the track every Tuesday afternoon at 3:00 with his setup team. Because without those guys making Heffron looking as good as it does, it wouldn't be half the event. So big shout out and thanks to Cole and everybody, the St. John's ambulances. Hey, the photographers that create content.
Yeah.
Do you too, Crafty, on the microphone?
Yeah, so the photographers, because look, we don't always credit when we do the podcast. I grab them off I kind of say if they're on the Facebook, they're everybody's, but Richard Scrivens and Simon Francis, a massive thank you to
and Victoria.
Yeah.
Even the riders that have been putting on bike cams and stuff, like I think that stuff is so cool. Kolovos with the drone every now and again.
Yes,
the coffee van, like there's so many elements to it. People that come down and watch every week that don't race. You know, Tony Atchison helping with sign on, like all these people that are involved.
Champion Systems throwing in on the podiums.
Like everything. People, you know, even Vaughan sitting up on the hill. Brad, like I was trying to explain to Willie Heff one night, Brad McGee was on the hill almost every week the first half of the year when he was in Sydney. Brad McGee's like worn the leaders jersey in every Grand Tour. Like, like a lot of the young guys wouldn't know who he is, but he's like a cycling legend. You know, he's cycling, especially in Australia. He's cycling royalty. He's up there. I'd put him up there with Cadell and Robbie McEwen. Like, he's as big as they get. So people that come to watch, you know, I know Dan Bonello like purposely didn't book a flight so he could stay to race an extra Tuesday. Like people that move their lives around so that they can have Tuesday night racing. Thank you. And thanks to everyone that races because, you know, like I said, cycling it's the biggest it's ever been in participation, but I think it's the smallest it's ever been in racing. But Tuesday night is as big as ever. And it's one of the more exciting parts of the week for some people. So,
and also thank you to everyone during the season who's tuned into the podcast. We've had a lot of fun doing it.
150 plus. Okay, well, on that note, let's do it. See you next year at Heffron.
And congratulations to our Rider of the Year, Jackie Bennett.
Woo!